Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malabite. Action.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Bemba. Good morning, Rufa.
As I see your very handsome picture when they did that introduction. It was very, very handsome man.
Let's deal with the issues at hand.
Okay.
We'll start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. Okay, that's the photograph you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Very handsome.
Now, we start with the story above the masthead. Sanwo-Olu receives Dangote's rise support for vulnerable Lagos households. This is extreme kindness. Compassion, says Governor, hails Dangote Foundation's largesse. Yes, Dangote, Aliko Dangote, started with his home state of Kano and has extended his palliative to Lagos. Well, it's a good move. Palliatives here, palliatives there. But while we welcome these interventions to help vulnerable Nigerians, we must do more, not to become a country that talked about poverty and palliatives, because this country is so endowed that this should not be our lot as a nation. But I will join the governor of Lagos State, Governor Sanwo-Olu, in also appreciating Aliko Dangote and others who are taken from their deep pocket to help the needy at this time. But remember that proverb, it's better you teach people how to fish than to continue to give them fish all the time. Many Nigerians want to work, earn the money, take care of their families. And you ask, how long will this palliative last? Before long, the same citizens, that is if it can even go around the vulnerable Lagosians we're talking about. So we welcome these gifts as the different state governments are also intervening, trying to bring succor or relief, better word, relief to families that are stricken by the pandemic of empty pockets and the skyrocketing inflation that is at an all-time high. Now, the lead story in this day newspaper. In move to revive economy, Tinubu heads 31-man presidential economic coordination council. Edu Kadoso, Elumelu Dangote, Rabiu Agbaje make list. Minister of Finance to chair 19-man economic emergency task force. Heads another 14-man economic management team. The Minister of Finance is already the coordinating minister of the economy. So, heading one committee here, heading another committee, task force, emergency. I hope this is not overkill, because sometimes when you overburden a man with so many things, perhaps he may just lose focus. I remember one minister was almost choked up in the Buhari administration with ministries. 1, 2, 3 ministry. Yeah, you can do it. You are action man from your state. We know what happened. At the end of the day, we had to zero in and say, please go and do only works. So that the rest, other people can do other job. But these are familiar names. And setting up an economic committee or task force like this, we've seen it in the past. President Muhammadu Buhari did it, and we know the story. But we just hope the administration will stay focused, because we have a National Economic Council headed by the Vice President that should be coordinating things. A minister has already been designated as a coordinating minister for the economy. But a situation where you now have players in the economy now joining government ministers as policy coordinators, well, we want results. That's what we want. We want to see results. We want to see an uplift in the economic situation in the country. Now, if we just move over to Business Day newspaper, of course, here the problem, wallets shrink as food inflation nears all-time high. Of course, the statistics from the Bureau, the figures from the Bureau of Statistics shows clearly that inflation is at multi-decade high, all-time high, and that is what is affecting Nigerians. And another story on the front page of the Business Day, they're saying households battle to make ends meet as inflation bites, and I will add bites harder. We move over to the Daily Trust newspaper, of course, the sad story. The Daily Trust, tears as slain military personnel buried in Abuja. Heartless people took away our breadwinners' families. Diseased officers get national honors, kids scholarships. And other newspapers are also reporting the story. The Punch newspaper, slain soldiers' burial. Tinubu insists on killers' arrest as families demand justice. Killers won't go unpunished. President vows confers posthumous national honor on slain soldiers. Federal government orders benefits payment within 90 days. Families get scholarship, houses, Chief of Army Staff mounts. Well, the promises made to the families of these fallen soldiers must be kept, because after all the talk at the burial, the optics, the nine stocks, the headlines, we hope those who are to actualize these benefits get to these bereaved families, do so with speed, so that these families don't have to contend with difficulties again. Well, a lot of promises made there by the president, and of course with the military high command. I just hope they will make good these pledges with some speed. Daily Sun newspaper also has that story. Amid tears, commendation at burial, Tinubu offers scholarship to slain soldiers' children. The Vanguard newspaper, at burial, grieving families of slain soldiers demand justice. And the New Telegraph newspaper, Okwama killings, 3 of 10 widows, 4, 5, 8 months pregnant. Chief of Army Staff, pity, really. Those unborn children will not know their fathers, but they will hear of the gallant effort of their fathers in serving the nation, in putting their lives on the line when they were enrolled as soldiers and officers of the Nigerian Army. Now, there's a story below the photograph there. Tinubu to the Congress delegation, U.S. Congress delegation. Nigeria suffered leadership elephantiasis in the past. Assures of commitment to rule of law, deepening democracy, congratulates Senegal's president-elect Diomaye. Well, the Senegal election is one that should gladden the hearts of many in West Africa. Despite the efforts by the incumbent president to mess things up in one of Africa's pride when it comes to democracy, the people of Senegal stood up and elected somebody who is 44-year-old, the youngest leader in Africa today. So kudos again to Senegalese for making good their dream of ensuring that democracy continue to reign in their land, because what the incumbent president was doing is the type of scenario that creates fertile ground for military boys to think otherwise and strike. But kudos, Senegal continue to remain a shining light when it comes to democracy in Africa. The Guardian newspaper, Nigerian politics, 2023 election expenses. A year after INEC, APC, PDP, 14 others mum on financial disclosure. These are legal constitutional requirements that parties must make their election expenses public. INEC is not asking. the parties are keeping mum. Please, the parties must make, no wonder you hear of, oh, this one has been eating so much money, and they're at each other's throat. Let's have clear, clean records of how parties raise funds and how they spend this money ahead of the general election in 2023. Now, the leadership newspaper convention NEC meeting, opposition in disarray as PDP LP sink deeper. We didn't monitor Labour Party's convention, INEC, that is key. Obi, OT lawmakers absent. Subterranean forces controlling PDP leadership, says Suzwan. Of course, the Labour Party convention took place yesterday. But if you have a convention of Labour Party, the poster face of Labour Party, the success it has become very recently, is Peter Obi. Peter Obi has been all over the place with his face. Yet when it comes to Labour Party convention, as organized yesterday, he was not there. It says something. Alex Oti, the only governor on the platform of the Labour Party, was not there. It says something. Of course, the National Working Committee of the NEC of Labour Party saying that they have taken charge of the party. So Labour Party, as very recently as the last general election, holding so much promise, with followership unheard of for a party of labor status in recent politics. But now, all that seems to be going down the drain. Now, we look at one foreign newspaper quickly. The Daily Telegraph. King thanks public for extending hands of fellowship. Easter message of care and service will be played at Royal Monday gathering. Yes, King Charles, despite his health challenge, will deliver an Easter message, and of course it will be pre-recorded, and he will be telling the people to take a lead from the example of Jesus, how he served and cared. So they should do so same for one another. Ruben, Rufai, and Bemba.
King Charles will also be thanking people, as that title shows, for friendship. 2 diagnoses of cancer within the family, and the support that he has received from the public, and that the princess, Kate, has also received. Even if in our own case it was very controversial. But I want to comment quickly on 2 things. The first is the donation of 80,000 bags of rice to the Lagos State government by Alhaji Aliko Dangote and the Dangote Group. And that was presented yesterday and reported. Well, I think we should just thank Alhaji Aliko Dangote for, again, this benevolence, for this act of philanthropy. But I get your point that, look, Nigeria should not be a country of palliatives from the savannah to the delta. We should have a system in place where there is prosperity and well-being for everyone, as promised in President Tinubu's manifesto.
And we have the resources as a nation.
But what you can be sure of is that Lagos State, is providing very good example in terms of managing these resources. And what Alhaji Aliko Dangote has done is to support the point made by the governor of Lagos State during that Sanwo-Olu Speaks program, of which I was a part. He had announced then that he was going to launch a program, Lagos Cares, Unge Eko, where the vulnerable and the poor will be provided support. What the Lagos State government needs to do, because it's covering all the state is covering all the areas, is to ensure equity. That these bags of rice that Lagos State government is providing, and that Alhaji Dangote and others have provided, get to the people, the vulnerable who actually need them, and do not end up in the garages of civil servants. And when I talk about
or party chieftains.
And when I talk about equity, This equity should also include every area, because you know, I've been looking around in my own neighborhood. I've been trying to find out.
You mean your bourgeois neighborhood?
Which one is bourgeois neighborhood?
Bourgeois neighborhood?
No, it's equity. We are all in this matter.
You want
There's no Ikoyi. You want palliative rights in Ikoyi.
Governor, there are poor people around Ikoyi who work for big men.
Governor,
so you should remember. No, don't forget those people.
No, this is a serious matter.
No, I agree with you.
You think if they give me rights, I will not collect?
Ikoyi man.
Now, Governor Sanwo-Olu has put a committee together as he promised. And that committee must also see that they have a responsibility to ensure fairness and equity in distributing this. Finally, the committees that President Tinubu has set up. Vimbai made a point earlier on that international advisors should also be included. I recall that in our time we had something called the Honorary International Investment Council that was chaired by Baroness Linda Chalker. Now, that body used to meet in London, we used to meet in France, and under the auspices of that HIIC, you know, advisors will be invited from all over the world, Japan, US, looking at the Nigerian economy. Maybe President Tinubu should also consider, you know, reviving that HIIC so that there can be international input, neutral input into the management of the Nigerian economy.
Calabar and Oyo, not in London.
Yes.
Very quickly.
I don't like this neo-colonial coloration.
What I really think
The body existed. I don't know.
What I really think Lagos needs is paddy for their rice mill. Lagos has one of the biggest rice mills in the West African part of Africa that has a lot of capacity, but we are not seeing as much rice from that rice mill.
Well, they have a partnership now with Niger State.
We need paddy in that rice mill so that rice can flood everywhere. We have the capacity to produce the rice. Let's make that mill work with a lot of paddy. That's what Lagos needs.